What is up, everybody? It's your boy Verdict here, and thank you so much for stopping by. Now, before we start this video, I am pushing for 3K subs as fast and as hard as possible. So it would mean the world to me if I earn your subscription by the end of this video. So I need to tell you one or two things. I know there will be a couple of PvP players being very upset in the comments for even suggesting that Mystic needs buffs, changes, etc., this and that. But nonetheless, she needs these changes that I will be suggesting today through this video. And most importantly, I will be explaining why these changes are needed, and I hope that by the end of this video, you guys will be more understanding onto what Mystic's issue is, why she needs these changes, etc., etc. So let's really get into it. I have this small notepad that I've made for myself over here, so I'm gonna just pull it, make it just easier for me. I really want to talk about a couple of things over here for this beautiful Mystic. What is the purpose of Succession? Let's talk about Succession. Well, Succession is meant to be this oppressive DPS class that has barely any burst. So into the PvE scene, Succession Mystic is subpar right now. Into the PvP scene, at a 730 gear score level, Succession Mystic is arguably broken. And I really say arguably because it really depends on who fights her. If you have a class with high accuracy, then she will not be that broken. But if you have a class with no accuracy, then she will be broken. So it really is a conversation of, are you prepared to fight Succession Mystic, or are you not prepared to fight a Succession Mystic, or a Mystic in general? So we have quite a few issues in Succession PvE and PvP that if they're given a little bit of attention and other things being adjusted at the same time, Succession Mystic will be in an overall better position compared to what she is right now. And the first thing is Sea Burial, and I'm gonna just move over here with her so you guys can really see what I mean by this. So Sea Burial is one of our spender abilities, and that ability sadly is so bad, the damage on it is so low for a 3 spender that nobody uses it in PvE unless it's really to fill the rotation. So it's like a last resort, which you are bound to use because it's simply in the nature of our class. But still, after you use this Sea Burial, the damage kinda is so bad to the point where you drop in our DPS simply because this ability does not chain very well into other abilities. It's kind of clunky, it doesn't deal good damage on its own. So you really use this as a filler. So Sea Burial, if you see, it has a 50% critical hit rate. The attack damage on 3 shards and off 3 shards is really poor. It's 1201 times 9, and if you go into Wave Orb, it's 1602 times 10 on these, and it even has 100 accuracy rate, 100 critical hit rate, and the accuracy rate on Sea Burial is fine, but you know, that doesn't make up for the damage that you're losing through the spell. Rage Hammer is better, Roaring Tiger is better, all of our abilities, all of our spenders are simply far too good compared to Sea Burial. And talking about Sea Burial and abilities in general, so we don't have a tier 3 add-on, and I understand why we don't have a tier 3 add-on. I understand simply how the class for Mystics, just the design for Mystics, has led to us not having a tier 3 add-on on Succession. So Mystic is a class that is measured in DPS. She's not measured in burst because she has no burst. It's impossible to burst with a class like this because our burst abilities deal less damage than our main rotation unless we put 3 Martial Spirit Charge. So burst is DPS and DPS is burst, but the question is, which defines the class? You have, usually the burst classes are the mages, the casters classes that really kind of blow everything up in consecutive fashion. Like, that's the type of a class. The spender classes, generation classes, they're not really bursty classes. It's just by design. It's just how things go. And we don't have a tier 3 add-on because when we're a DPS class and all of our abilities are spammables, essentially a tier 3 add-on will give us a 10 extra AP for the entirety of rotation on repeat. Essentially, it's going to be a huge DPS for the entirety of the class. It's going to be very impactful for the spec. And I understand why we don't have a tier 3, and that's simply because of that. But still, well, we can kind of hit 2 birds with 1 stone and put Sea Burial, an already underperforming ability, to be a tier 3 ability so that we can have at least a purpose for that ability outside of using it just as a filler. So Maybe also give it like 100 critical hit rate into PvE. I don't know. I think it's going to be great. But nonetheless, we have so far Sea Burial being bad, and of course no tier 3 add-ons to use. Of course, that leads us to the Crystal preset impact. Now, I made a video about this. It was very well received. People really understood what I talked about. And essentially, with the Crystal presets, we lost a lot of our evasion into the PvE scene. And into the PvP scene, things are looking a lot better because now you can stack this evasion up. So essentially it increased the accessibility of Mystic, but at the same time, you're kind of just running with the silly carpet build to above 12k evasion, and there is nothing that you can do to kill a player of 710, 715 gear score where they have a DR spec on them. You just kind of scratch the surface. And I understand Mystic's role in PvP is really to be just the stomper, right? She just goes there, she's a CC queen, she goes over there and just puts you on the ground and everybody behind you just kills you. That's the idea of Mystic, and I get this, but for the purposes of Mystic, it really doesn't work. It just simply does not work. In 1v1 it works, but the moment 2 people, 3 people jump into the conversation, you're kind of sitting there just in super armor rotation and waiting a slow and painful death because you need damage, and with evasion you don't have damage unless you're at the high extreme gear score. So is a 730 gear score Mystic OP? Yes. Is a 700 gear Mystic OP? Absolutely not. In fact, it's one of the least recommended classes to play at 700 gear score because it simply does not work. So it really is a question of accessibility for Succession. So the next thing that I have is the Hurricane Kick, which is the Magnus skill. The Hurricane Kick is as good as it is in PvE damage. The damage is really good in PvE. Let's just put it like this. But however, it doesn't really chain well into anything else. It feels like it's how can I say, it's more of a fill also, like Sea Burial. You kind of use it last, even though the generation on it is good. It's really clunky. People don't know exactly where to use it. It's very good for the AoE. I myself have put a skill add-on on it because I really like the ability. I like to use it, right? But it's more of a, you kind of use it with Sea Burial. People use it last because the wind up to it is what matters. At start, you don't deal any damage, and then halfway through the damage actually starts. So there is no way to do the start cancel. So those are really kind of the most impactful PvE and PvP things. Also, Hurricane Kick is not even viable in PvP to begin with. It's a frontal. It's kind of clunky to use. People kind of avoid it. So with this, I can pretty much say that these are kind of the most important things that need to be addressed for Succession. Of course, just a quick reminder, because Pearl Abyss did say that they're going to handle this, but there is no action yet taken. Onto the Coffee and Ball, they said that they will be targeting classes that lock far too many skills and add-ons, combos, skills, combos, and flows. So this is my PvE spec right now with Succession Mystic, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 locked, 16 with evasion, but everybody locks that, but still 16 locked flows, abilities, combos, whatever you want to call them. So these locked abilities are worthless both in PvP, both in PvE. The flows onto the Twist and Collision are kind of the only ones that are used. You still have some other uses for other, combos, but it's like so unbelievably niche to the point where there's no reason for you to even begin learning these. So nonetheless, guys, this is really for Succession Mystic. Let's go a little bit into the Awakening kit. Now, Awakening kit is on its last knees. Awakening is far too old. It simply does not work in PvP. The damage is so incredibly low in PvP. All the Awakening Mystics that I know, for example, Travesty, you kind of see the guy play. You notice how he's spending about 70% of his time in Preawakening because of how bad protected Awakening is. But nonetheless, these abilities here barely deal any damage into the PvP situation. And with all honesty, guys, Awakening is meant to be a dance to pre-awakened and awakened, right? That's what the design is meant to be. But however, if you look at something like this Mystic, where simply spamming your Tidal Burst and Rapid Stream abilities will deal more damage than you going into your pre-awakened, well, we're having an issue where this here is strong. In fact, this here is so strong compared to what its predecessor, Preawakening, is, to the point where nobody goes into Preawakening unless accuracy is needed. And that is actually the only time even Awakening Mystic is going into Preawakened. So we do this very weird rotation with Awakening Mystic, which is, do it like this. You're gonna use your Wave Orb, you're gonna use then your Shift Z, you're gonna do the Thunder Pound thing, you're gonna just go with the Hurricane Kick. You get the idea. You kind of only do this to reduce the evasion onto the target. None of these abilities have the damage in the PvE scene, nor really into the PvP scene. So what you're gonna see is Mystics purposely reducing their damage so that they can at least deal the awakening damage. That's really an accuracy issue. It really is an evasion issue onto the top end game spots. You're gonna see that on a 280 spot, Mystics don't go in Preawakening. The moment you go to Quinn Hill or something else, you're gonna see how Awakening Mystics, they go into Preawakening because you just need the accuracy. There's no reason for you to burst outside of that. But still, Awakening Mystic's role is very simple. Awakening Mystic is meant to be this super tanky CC type of thing where she goes out there and she keeps you on the ground, she keeps you slowed, and everybody just mops the floor, after her. That's like what the purpose of the class spec is. But still, low damage. It doesn't work in PvP, it doesn't work in PvE. The only spot where Awakened Mystic is considered really onto the borderline of optimal is Gaifen Lower. Everywhere else, she's an absolute meme. There is no reason for you to play Awakening Mystic, nor in PvE, nor in PvP. But still, guys, this video is one that is super hard to make because it can leave a false impression of a player that doesn't know its class, doesn't know this and that, and essentially just crying for buffs. But I play both of my specializations on a optimal level at the end game, and I can tell you from my years of experience with Mystic what really is her issue. And in my opinion, Succession is subpar. There is no reason for you to play Succession PvE at all at the top endgame spots. On mid-game, like Thornwood Forest, like just the mid-game spots, she is absolutely perfect there. But the moment you start hitting for the endgame is where you don't want to be. So, Awakened Mystic, Succession Mystic, we really want to be onto the radar of Black Desert's Pearl Abyss developer team. And of course, with this video, I hope to just raise some awareness to everybody that wants to kind of see and witness what really is the issue. Why are there no Succession Mystics? Why are there no Awakening Mystics? This is what the players have as obstacles. And as we all know, Succession Mystic is kind of only viable at the kind of high end game PvP and not viable in high end game PvE. So if you're not there for your high end PvE, then who the hell is going to even go for the PvP, right? It's just really, it's a fine balanced video. But nonetheless, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you into the next one. Thank you. Much love.